Hello everybody, my name is Tony, and today it's a familiar sight here. I am back on the Cast Sun Chieftain to bring you all the actual final update of this character, this time for real. Basically, I did a few changes to the gear and to the spells. I did a lot of experimenting actually, because I did not fully agree with a lot of things that I saw on eMiracle's videos and his loadouts, because I started getting a better feel for the build. Started to have a little bit of a better idea of what the build likes, what the build does not like, and I incorporated Purifying Flame of Revelations before I did a big swamp, and basically that version felt the tankiest out of every version that I've did. So no Righteous Fire, and with Purifying Flame, Flame Surge, Firestorm of Belting, and Blazing Salvo, I was pretty much immortal. There was literally nothing that could topple this character aside from damage over time, and even then, if there was a factor of someone hitting me and my spells coming down and chucking, there was literally nothing that could kill this character. It even took on a Nightmare Lycia without dying. The effective hit pool of this character was around 600,000 at the time. 600,000 of just effective hit pool. It's ridiculously strong. However, one thing that did improve this character a lot was a few of the changes that I've done regarding the defenses. So for starters, I recrafted my gloves and my boots. These gloves are pretty good. They're basically perfect. I really don't have anything to change on these. However, these boots could be better. I bought a movement speed fracture. I really wanted to get the movement speed and freeze avoidance fracture, because that will be the actual bestest one. Just a 20% freeze avoid, 20% move speed and freeze avoidance is all we need. I will get into that in a little bit, but yeah. But for now, this works. I don't get frozen. If I do, it's from things like the strong boxes, basically. So let me get into what I've done on the character. As you may notice, I am not using a Prism Guardian anymore. I am using a Socketed Gems, have 30% reservation increased shield, so I can use a shield that has a very juicy life roll and +3 max fire res. This is a really good shield. It would actually be the best in slot if I had 8% damage, physical damage reduction, and 10% maximum life. However, that shield is ridiculously expensive to craft, and I am not going to throw any more currency at this character because it already does what it needs to do the bestest. It already does simulacrums, it already does grueling gauntlets, it does everything I throw at it, and I'm not going to claim immortality. My death counter would like to speak otherwise, because I definitely do take a lot of risk, but yeah, it is ridiculously tanky. In fact, the only things that have killed this character is, funnily enough, our own hubris. We are spawning in unearthed corpses with massive amounts of life, and if a DD enemy decides to pop one of these, there is just no way that we live. The corpses have around 200,000 HP, and they will be doing in the millions of damage, that even with all of our damage mitigation from 90 fire res and all that, will just go straight through and demolish our HP. It's just too much hit damage to even counter. With that being said, the gear basically stayed the same. I just picked up a new scepter that was actually 10% increased elemental instead of the 8 that I had. Gave it the area of effect equality thing. I revised the jewels. We are now using proper jewels with widespread destruction and burning bright on all 3 jewel sockets, as you can see. We are still using a maximum resistances jewel. We do need one of them. The other jewels have damage over time and maximum life, and then here we have Unflinching on a Forbidden Flesh and Flame. These were like 100+ div a week ago, and now there were 20 div for the set. 12 div for the Forbidden Flame, it was like 2 divines for, no, it was like 6 or 7 divines for the flesh version. so dirt cheap compared to what they used to. This gives us another endurance charge, and it gives us free endurance charge generation, so we could drop Inexorable, and that allowed us to come up here and replace and add a medium cluster with Brush with Death and Wrapped in Flame. I still might want to reroll Brush with Death. I don't think I want to keep it, but it is pretty good. But Wrapped in Flame gives us immunity to chill, which allows me to drop a Flask, a freeze-in chill immunity thing once I sort my boots. This will make it so that I also cover enemies in Ash, which means 20% more damage, increased damage taken. It's a 20% damage multiplier. And this basically means that our damage feels really good. And I do not see the need for the double Nebulous. I did try double Nebulous. I tried Nebulous with a Darkseer. I believe that is the name of the item. Darkseer. Yes, I tried with both a Nebulous and a Dark Seal with 2 life to see. And while the Darkseer was pretty good because it made them have Malediction on default, which means that they'll 10% reduce damage and they take 10% increased damage. So they're taking 30% increased damage from all sources, plus the minus 20 res, plus the big dots, plus the curse. There's a lot of damage multipliers that really escalate our damage. The one thing that I have not upgraded is this Flask. This Flask could be way better. This was the cheapest I could find way back in the start of the league, and I have not swapped it out. Although I do have a bit of a tick to show with a different Flask if you are pushing levels with this character, if you care about that at all. So I will showcase the Flask tech. In fact, I'll just do it right now before I forget. If we come over here to this, I was using an Oriath's End, and ideally you want as close to 30% explosions, but 30% is really high and it's too much money, and a 26% chance was literally dirt cheap. So I just picked it up from that, and that was this right here. One of the things that improves our clear a lot is the Hinekora explosions. However, the Hinekora explosions will only happen 10% of the time, which means it's a 1 in 10 of it happening on an enemy. This makes it so that it's a 1 in 4 chance of happening on an enemy. And I'm probably wondering, oh, but this only does 10% of their maximum HP. 10% of their maximum HP is basically enough to propagate a massive amount of explosions. So this actually becomes really strong the more higher end content you push. Not only that, because we have 100% global chance to ignite, the explosions from our Flask will also ignite, which means that these can very well propagate ignites, which means that if you do a turbo juiced breach beyond Jungle Valley, yeah, you're gonna have it's really fun. I'll just put it out that way. It is very fun. One explosion will lag your PC, and then you look down here and you've suddenly moved like a whole millimeter in XP, and it's really big and it's very funny. Other than that, I have not changed a lot. I have changed into a Righteous Fire setup. As you can see, we have Righteous Fire. The reason why is simple. Righteous Fire helps us a lot with trash mobs and the trash mob killing. It assists us into killing our own phantasms from Penance Brand, or Penance Mark I should say, sorry. And it will also make us benefit from Wrapped in Flame, giving us the immunity to Chilled, and then later with the boots with Avoid being frozen, it will make us basically chill and freeze immune, allowing us to drop a Flask modifier. I'm currently using 10% of damage taken from hits is leached as life. I had poison immunity, but I can count the amount of times I've seen a Chaos Dot in simulacrums and all that. It didn't matter. I had 10 stacks of poison or more on me and my character would not budge. And mind you, I am 75 Chaos Res. I am not higher or lower or anything, and even if they had damage pen, it still didn't matter. Now, to go over the possible upgrades for this character, obviously the shield has a lot you can improve. You can get PDR, and percent max life with increased quality of socketed gems as a craft, but that is ridiculously overkill and not needed. I will be upfront where I say this. You really do not need that crazy of a shield because the cost per benefit is too much. If you are loving this build to the point where you want to push this character to its absolute degenerate min-max, then absolutely you could go for that crazy shield. But personally, I am calling a stop. I'm putting a stop on this, on spending any more currency on this character, because it already does what I wanted it to do 100 divines ago, and I still put 100 divines on it worth of gear and stuff, and there was absolutely no need for this because the character performs exactly like it did before. The only thing we got was just slight quality of life. Anyways, when you get this shield, you can now use a Malevolence with a level 1 Eternal Blessing. These things costed a lot of money. I profited a lot off of making these. Coins of Knowledge were at an all-time low of like 140 that I remember, and I just bulk bought 10 divines worth of this, and I just made leveled Malevolence gems on my offhand and just kept giving attempts, and I just sold a bunch of these and I made a lot of money. Honestly speaking, if I had just kept doing that, I would have had so much currency that it would have been GG. But honestly speaking, after looking at the market and how many I sold, it went down from like 40 divines to 13, 14. So it definitely de-escalated a little bit. However, it's very worth it to pick this up because the shield does give us a lot of extra life and opens up our fire res, which opens up the possibility to use the Forbidden Flesh and Flame, because we do not need 2 extra jewels with plus max fire res to keep our max fire res in check, and therefore our other resistances. So the shield and Malevolence are mandatory for that, but they are basically, I would stop after this, and that's basically what I'm doing. Any further investment into this it's going to have severely diminishing returns. Anyways, the last thing that I would like to cover is the current link setups. I am gonna go ahead and say that in your Firestorm of Pelting and on Flame Surge, either one of these, get Culling Strike. It will make a world of difference. Having your Firestorms or Flame Surges do Culling Strike is single-handedly the biggest quality of life thing I have ever done to this build. Especially when I was running Purifying Flame, because I wasn't doing the DD 4 link, pseudo 5 link, and pseudo 7 link RF. With Purifying Flame and all of the AoE scaling that we have, not only did we have permanent consecrated ground on the floor that just gave us a lot of life regen and a lot of curse immunity, basically it made us curse immune. It would also make it so that basically everything around me would get cold on demand all the time. So this made it so that the total simulacrum time, let's say I took like 20 minutes to do a simulacrum, I would actually take like 15 or 14 minutes. It cut down the time per round by a solid like 20 seconds. Because most of the time, especially on like rounds 10 to 15, mobs get really tanky and it takes quite a bit for them to die. That extra like half a second it takes for them to go from 10% HP to 0% HP, cutting that off per mob, it basically means that you save quite a lot of time when everything's getting cold. On the Detonate Dead, I have not managed to get anything big. Unbound Ailments would be the biggest one, but last time I checked, a Detonate Dead with Unbound Ailments was like 40 divines. Yeah, it's 50 divines. This is completely and utterly not required. And it is complete overkill. It will definitely increase the damage that you do on Detonate Dead, but remember that with the Cast When Stunned Chieftain, the main purpose is the Hinekora explosions. That's all that we're playing for. The DD setup with Unearth is basically to ensure that in the worst possible case scenario, aka Hycosis or Omniphobia, do not get a big ignite on them from the resulting explosions of everything around them. This just means that your DPS is still capable of killing them at 100% deliriousness. Below 100% deliriousness, they die in like less than 5 seconds because we just do that much damage. But above, when we go up to 100% deliriousness, we're only dealing 20% of our original damage, I believe. So this definitely makes it so that Unearth and DD is the highest possible single target we can get on this setup. Now, the other thing I did is I got a 24% Defiance of Destiny, up from 15, I think. And man, does that 9% feel awesome. I never thought that this was going to be something that I was going to care about, but I spent 2 Divines re-rolling it to get these stats. I got a 10 from 14, and then I got a 20, which was pretty interesting. I managed to keep some decent fire resistance and a decent-ish life roll. Everything else feels like okay, I don't really care too much. But yeah, I went for the life and mana modifiers, obviously, so with that we would increase the missing unreserved life gain. That gives us an extra 4%. The Hateful Accuser stays the exact same. I did not touch this ring ever since I bought it all the way a month and a half ago when I started this build. The body armor, the exact same. I could definitely get 75 fire res. That would be really good. That would actually ease the gearing a little bit because of the cold res being a little bit under because of the Valyrium ring. Another thing that I did, I already covered the scepter. I recrafted both my gloves and my boots. I already covered that as well. The mage blades stay the exact same. The completely unreasonable and completely stupid upgrade that this character could get is a +2 to Socketed Gems Corrupted Honor Home. However, I'm just going to let this speak for itself. So if you come over here to implicits and we click this, yeah, that's 380 divines. For context, a mage blood, an uncorrupted mage blood, okay, with, this is gonna list, yeah, an uncorrupted 4 flask mage blood costs 108 divines as of today. This means that that helmet is worth almost 4 mage bloods. Is that worth it? It would give you +4 levels on Unearth, and it would give you a little bit more quality, so you would actually be spawning really high level corpses, and it would be a significant damage increase. But is it 400 divines worth of improvement? Like, we're already getting close to 17-18 minute, like from first round to 15 round simulacrums. That's little over a minute per round, counting that I do loot quite a bit and my filter is not very strict, and I also take a lot of time by just pissing around and not really paying attention to the game. So is that worth it? If it is to you, then the cost is 380 divines, possibly 400. If it isn't, like it is to me, yeah, the +2 socketed projectiles is pretty enough to just get you to level 30 on Earth. This is already plenty good. You start getting diminishing returns after this, like severely diminishing returns, especially when you're considering that the cost to upgrade is quite literally 380 divines. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that that is an avenue. So far, the bestest things that we could do is improve both of our shield and our helmet. The shield could get the best in slot modifiers, but the shield costs like 200, 300 divines in that state. To craft it, it's like another 150 to 200. It really depends on how lucky you are. I am not lucky at all, so I am happy with this. And for the honor home, you would get the +2 Socketed Gems Corruption, which would raise the level of Empower and Enhance, and it would make it really, really good, basically. So yeah, I don't think that it is worth to push any of that. I would be more content with getting Mage Bloods and Falborn Val Orbs. Is that Falborn Val Orbs? Or Val Exalted Orbs? No, it's Val... you know the one where it might get 5 flasks. That's what I would do. I would rather do that than get this, because then it would just mean that we could have 5 flasks up, and that would be quite cool. Anyways, besides a lot of simulacrum farming, which is all that I've been doing, quite literally, if you check my trade tab, all I'm doing is selling off like a lot of jewels. I did a few things here and I sold a few other things. I sold a shield that I crafted and did not hit anything decent. I preferred this shield here because it had the elemental resistances and I actually quite needed that, and 38% chance to block, which statistically would also make me a lot tankier. So yeah, a lot of things were sold here. I also did a bit of gambling with some Light of Meaning jewels here. So yeah, basically all of my money comes from selling the unidentified megalos and the unidentified voices, and that is how I am farming the currency for this build. And now I am running a turbo breach setup with a Beyond Scarab of Invasion, Breach Scarabs of Instability, and Scarabs of Monstrous Lineage with this, pardon me, with this tree. This basically means that I am maxing out on Beyond mob spawning. I'm juicing up the map's mods to as high as I possibly can, and this basically just means that I am really, it farms a lot of experience very quickly. I would showcase a map, but the map takes literally around 5 minutes to complete for me, not because of the clear, because if we're talking just raw go fast clear, probably like 2 minutes. 1 minute for the regular map, another minute for the empowered blight, empowered Mirage map. But I am a loot goblin. I have a not very strict filter. I will pick up the 2 transmutation orbs and the 1 armor scrap thing. So I will not showcase a map because I will literally sit here for another extra 10 minutes of this video just picking up meaningless loot for most of you. So yeah, as a update for this character, I am not going to be investing any more currency in it. In fact, I am heavily debating, after going through a lot more simulacrums and getting this character to 100 in just simulacrums, I am thinking of liquidating all of my gear to take advantage of the fact that there still is people playing this league, so that I can go and invest on some other characters so I can finally finish my challenges, because I have yet to finish 36 challenges for the Orb Regalia stuff. And for the people that watched my previous video and are wondering, I am playing the, there it is, I am playing the witch that has the Poison Holy Relic, and the missing gem slot is literally the Empower 4 that is on my Chieftain's helmet. Because I'm not going to buy an extra Empower, because I might just stop playing the other character altogether. Anyways, with that being said, I am probably not going to record anything else on the Chieftain. If anything, I will just make a diary thing of just recording my first ever level 100, because this is the first time that I would ever get a level 100 character. So yeah, with that being said, I hope that people that have been following these videos found them useful. To the guy that commented on my videos if this can do Simulacrum, it can most definitely do Simulacrum. I posted a video of the final waves of Simulacrum before any of these big upgrades. It now performs even better than that. So this, I've been literally just running Simulacrums over and over and over, and that is how I have been making all of my currency, with no deaths on Simulacrum whatsoever. I am literally dying more to this leveling strat that I'm trying because I'm stupid and I don't really look at the mods. I died to Reflect twice, and before looking at the map and being like, why am I dying? and then seeing the reflects like 20% of my damage, which is quite a lot. So, moral of the story, build's great, I suck, and I hope that you guys have a fantastic end of league for the people that are still playing. Best of luck out there, and I hope that you guys find the video helpful. Bye bye.